There's gonna be an Eastern European chick naked in your house. And you're not gonna do anything about that?
What am I gonna do, huh? Broadcast her over the internet?
And now, back to the Big Dumb Fun Show.
Broadcasting over the airwaves, around the world, on the internet, online, it's the Big Dumb Fun Show. My name is Aaron.
Oh, I'm Brad.
I'm Crystal. Hi.
And you can find us online at BigDumbFunShow.com. Friend, fan, follow us on Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, Twitter, Eventful, Reverb Nation, Google+, Tumblr, and the Instagram. That's right.
Instagram.
We are on the Instagram. If you're a Big Dumb Fun Show fanimal, check out our Instagram, and we've got our Instagram crackers there. At least that's what we like to call them.
Crackers.
Yummy.
In studio, we have a Kansas City filmmaker, attorney, retired police officer, Gary Jenkins. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Thanks, Aaron. It's good to be here.
You've got a film that is premiering on Thursday at the Screenland Crown Center entitled Gangland Wire.
Correct.
And you've been working on this for a while. You'd been on the show, was a year or two ago?
It was probably 2 years ago.
When you were first working on this?
I've been working on this for 3 years.
Yeah, you talked to me a little bit about trying to help you get someone to maybe corroborate the story, I believe it would be called.
I can't remember. Corroborate.
Corroborate some.
I think we talked about doing some voiceovers. I ended up getting Bill Callaherca to do my narration and found another guy to do a voiceover. So,
well, I knew some people from the restaurant industry.
Oh
here
yeah,
in town.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you now. Yes,
And
that
in
was
fact,
most interesting.
It was one of the guys who wasn't. He was a friend of the family, if you will. His name
Correct.
was Vince. And he was a guy who was familiar with, if you know the movie Kill the Irishman, he knew the Irishman.
Oh, really?
I don't know if he tried to kill him. I never asked him. I did
These
not
sound so terrifying.
want to know.
Gangland Wire, that sounds so terrifying.
Well, because it's mafia. It's the mob. It's a
Yeah.
Kansas City crime scene is what it is.
I'm so excited to see it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Like,
Gary is
you
here.
better.
Because he said he was a little nervous.
You
He was going
like
to
it
be
or
packing
else.
some heat.
Uh-oh.
You know, that's
Oh,
why they
Lord.
invented that
I'm
new
just
law,
gonna-
that concealed carry law for this kind of a deal. You know, I had an illustrator that I talked to. I wanted some illustration done rather than doing reenactment, and
I'm really good at stick figures.
I called him up and we had a meeting, and he told me in the second meeting, he said, I've had people tell me that I shouldn't do this, so I'm not going to do it. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you want the mob after me? And I said, well, okay.
I'm not going to draw any pictures for you because.
This guy has no fear.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. How this is this film, which is premiering on Thursday. How you came to produce it.
Well, actually, I was assigned to this investigation in 1976 as a young intelligence unit detective, and we were assigned to help the FBI follow the mobsters around. There was a mob war going in 1976 over a variety of different little bits and pieces of money here and there, and control over an area where the bar scene was immensely successful, and the mob guys wanted to move in, and some people down there didn't want them to move in, and they were not the real connected mob guys, and there erupted a war, and they were trying to kill this one guy, Carl Sparrow. That was our main target that my squad followed, was Carl Sparrow, and it took them several years. We were off of him one night, and they caught he and his brothers in the Virginian Tavern over at Admiral, Virginia, and they killed one of his brothers, and they paralyzed Carl and wounded his other brother, and so
In a gun battle?
Yeah, and we doubled back down on him again, because actually at that point in time we'd run out of overtime, and you just, after you
like
follow
a football
somebody,
game.
I'm sorry,
Right.
I'd follow you, but it's Veterans Day.
you run out of
I
money.
get Memorial Day off. I get Veterans. It's 4th of July.
Time off,
Don't
yeah.
let the mob know this, though.
Right. I mean, it's 24 hours a day, 7 day a week deal.
It would be
Professional stuff.
Right.
because they could come along at any time and snuff him out.
Correct. Now they eventually got him years later, but they
Tax
never
fraud.
got him while we were there. But they did wound him, and they did paralyze him.
But you weren't there.
I wasn't there that night.
Well, after they paralyzed him, it must have been a little bit easier to get him.
Well, it really wasn't. It's actually harder. He was more alert, more aware, because the way mob kills you is they get your best friend who gets you out to dinner and gets you in a car and gets you isolated. And they were unable to do it at that time, and they did that in a public place. They usually do not kill you in a public place if there's any way around it. It's too dangerous. There could be an off-duty cop in there that's armed, or
they don't want more witnesses than necessary.
Too many witnesses, and so finally they got Carl with a remote control bomb over at 12th and Chestnut several years later.
And this was part of what they called the Black Hand Straw Man.
Well, the Black Hand Straw Man was the name of my friend Terrence O'Malley's movie, and he entitled it that because originally when the Mafia came to the United States, they were known as the Black Hand.
Okay.
And they'd give these threatening extortion notes to Italian immigrants who had stores, and they'd have a black hand on there. And so his documentary spanned that whole time from 1910, 1915 until present time. Now, the straw man part is really what my movie's about. Although I don't really talk about that code name straw man, but the FBI, when they started this investigation, and it spun out of Kansas City into Las Vegas, and to uncover the skim out of Las Vegas coming back to Chicago, Cleveland, and Milwaukee, and Kansas City, they had a straw man that owned a corporation which had several casinos, and he was just a straw man, and he only owned it in name only, and he was getting the profits out of it, a lot of them, but the mob was able to siphon the money out. So that was the end of Terrence's movie. He stopped it at the straw man investigation because that was a code name that the FBI gave.
All I can think about is Wizard of Oz now. Sorry.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, completely different.
Completely
different movie.
Yeah, and
if I only had a brain.
Yeah. I think that's what she was thinking.
Yay me!
Now, but you picked
me that dog.
You picked this line up from that point,
Toto.
which was really about what your movie is about, which is about the operations here in Kansas City.
Correct. His started in 1910 and came up to about the time when mine started. He finishes with the straw man.
Maybe he thought it's safer to stop there.
He might have. I don't know. Mine starts where his ends. And it starts with the River Key and the battle over the River Key, which is a little area over by the city market, which is kind of like the crossroads today. Mm-hmm. And it started as a grassroots movement by a man named Marion Trozzolo, and it really got really successful. If you guys know John Trozzolo, it's his father.
Trozzolo!
But
were they mob connected?
No. I mean,
they were just guys that were like,
they were just people that opened up restaurants and bars, and it was an art colony. Like I said, it was just like the crossroads started. Mm-hmm. Mr. Trozzolo bought up some old buildings and leases on old buildings down around the city market because it was Skid Row.
Yeah.
If you were around Kansas City, that was Skid Row, and it was nothing but the Helping Hand, which was the rescue mission in the city at the time, and it was nothing but guys hanging around down there in the city market, which was they sold fruits and vegetables during the day, and that was it. So it started going and it was getting successful, and that's when mob guys wanted to move their bars in there. And there was a son of a mobster named Freddie Bonadonna, had a really well-known place called Poor Freddy's, and he resisted them, and he had some political contacts, and he worked with the city council guy that he knew, Robert Hernandez, and they kept resisting him getting liquor licenses, and they resisted giving them leases for the buildings, and Willie Comisano, also known as Willie the Rat, came to him, and then he went to Freddie's dad. Freddie's dad, David Bonadonna, was a made guy. He was part of Willie's crew. Mm-hmm. And each kind of under guy, like he's a capo regime or a captain, Willie was, and he had a crew that worked for him that went out and did things. And so David was one of his crews and his crew members, and Willie went to David and said, you got to get Freddie in line. Freddie's getting some cash money in here off of these parking lots that he's got leased from the city, and I want some of that. And we want to get some of our friends to get bars down in this area because there's a lot of foot traffic, going to be a lot of business, and Freddie knew that would destroy the feeling of the key, and he resisted him, and they killed his father. So that was the start of it.
That was the start of the war.
Yeah, that was the start of the war.
And this was all before they actually were doing any of the wiretapping.
Correct. Yeah, we were just sitting on our thumbs at that time. Heck, I used to work off duty down there. This is before I went to the intelligence unit, and I'd work off duty and go into Freddie's joint, and he'd get cash money out of his till and hand it to me and this other guy. It was the greatest off-duty job in the world. There's all these beautiful young girls walking around down there, and I was a young guy, and you know, it was fun.
We'll talk some more with filmmaker Gary Jenkins about his film Gangland Wire when we come back on the Big Dumb Fun Show.
There's nobody